Good afternoon, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and rotoballer.com with your Fantasy Baseball Week 17 waiver wire. The week beginning after the Friday, after the All-Star break. Full disclosure, recording this on Thursday, July 11th, so obviously some numbers can change, players can get promoted, demoted, and stats can obviously change over the course of the next couple of days when you get to see this video. Using Yahoo roster percentages as our talking point, looking for players available in 50% or more of Yahoo leagues. And we have a couple of players on this list today who are repeats, players I've mentioned in the past, but are still, in my opinion, under-rostered and need to be considered. And we'll start with the hitters. Up first, Baltimore Oriole, DH, utility player, outfield possible eligible, Heston Kjerstad. The rookie, 39% rostered right now in Yahoo formats, available in 60% of leagues, just grossly under-rostered. As other players on that Baltimore offense have kind of hit the skids a little bit, Cowser, Heston Kjerstad is kind of cementing his stay here at the major league level. Now, he doesn't play against left-handed hitters very often, so he might be more suited for a daily lineup setting or in a weekly lineup setting. Have him on your team and don't use him. If Baltimore's playing 4 or 5 lefty pitchers for the week, you don't use them. But if it's a week worth of righties, Heston Kjerstad's going to be in the lineup. Over the last 14 days, Kjerstad is hitting .440 with 3 homers, 12 RBIs, 4 runs scored. Those 3 homers, 12 RBIs, and 4 runs scored matches season total. On the season, the batting average is at .319 and the on-base percentage is .407. He's got the highest OPS of any of the offensive players I'm mentioning today at .951. The downside to Kjerstad is he is striking out at close to a 30% rate, hitting 6th in that potent Baltimore lineup. Kjerstad playing enough to have a fantasy impact. Up number 2, take a look at the Chicago Cubs first base, third base, corner infield eligible, Michael Busch. Surprising to me, only 41% rostered, making him available in 59% of Yahoo leagues. Over the last 14 days, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 9 runs, while sporting a .357 batting average, hitting 2nd in that Cubs lineup. Now, on the season, the power plays. He's got 12 homers with 34 RBIs and 43 runs scored, an OPS of .838, while carrying a .275 batting average and a .365 on-base percentage. Again, the downside to Busch, kind of like Kjerstad, is that strikeout rate is high. It sits right now at just under 32%, higher than I like. But if you're drawing walks, and I think his walk rate is about 12% on the season, leads to that .365 OPS, that .838 OPS, that .365 on-base percentage. So that plays, and again, with the power, corner infield eligible, hitting 2nd in that Cubs lineup. Up third, another player I have mentioned in the past, Detroit Tigers, second base, third base, corner, middle eligible, Colt Keith, one of the top prospects in baseball and one of the top prospects in that Tigers organization. 40% rostered. I've been using him in Yahoo formats as a middle infielder. He's been locked in for about the last 2-3 weeks for me in my lineup, hasn't come out. 40% rostered, 60% available. Over the last 14 days, hitting .298. With a nice power surge over those 14 days, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 11 runs scored, hitting 2nd for the Detroit Tigers. It's risen the batting average to .250. Now, keep in mind, the league average is about .240. So if you're above .240, you're above league average, that batting average is actually affected. .250 with 8 homers, 32 RBIs, and 35 runs, mixed in with 5 stolen bases. Now, the OPS on the season sits at .669. It's a little low. You want it over .800. But over the month of July, we're talking about 11 days now, his OPS is at a super high. It's an MVP level, 1,300. So focus on the more recent stats with Colt Keith, the rookie, getting hot, he's getting productive, and he's going to be a star, a mainstay in that Detroit Tigers lineup. Up fourth, Zach Yeloff of the Oakland Athletics, the second baseman, middle infield eligible, available in 55% of formats. On the season, only hitting .208. He was awful. Let's just acknowledge it. I've been a dynasty format, and I had to sit awful through May, hitting about 170. He hit on the 100 both April and, under 200 in both April and May. Rounded it out to about 170 for those 2 months. Awful, droppable, in fact. Now, since he's hit 250 combined in the months of June and July, in the last 14 days, Zach Gelof is hitting 282. So it's risen his year-long batting average up to 208. Now you say, Anthony, it's still not outstanding, but it is a power-speed combination. Even with all the batting average faults, he is basically on pace for close to a 2020 season. He's got 10 homers and 11 stolen bases on the year. He's got 2 homers over his last 14 days with 3 stolen bases, hitting 6 for the Oakland Athletic lineup. Okay, the OPS sits at 648. It's nothing outstanding. The strikeout rate is high at 36%. But if you're in need of power and in need of speed, the young middle infielder for the Oakland Athletics does provide that power-speed combination, even with the strikeouts and potential hit to your batting average. He's currently hitting 6th in the Oakland A's lineup. And finally, at number 5, if you need a utility bat, a corner infielder, and you want some power, Rowdy Tellez of the Pittsburgh Pirates is right now on a hot streak. He's one of those players who can add, drop, and he'll be on and off the waiver wire potentially all year. You want him right now, though, while he's swinging the power bat. He's only 14% rostered. He's available in 86% of leagues. He's the most available hitter that I'm mentioning here. On the season, he's hitting 250, 8 homers, 30 RBIs. Don't forget, 2 years ago, in 2022, this is a guy who hit 35 home runs while hitting about 215. But the power, I think he had 89 RBIs that season, was effective. Pittsburgh has him batting 3rd. Okay, his OPS on the season is only 698. In the month of July, it's 1290. Again, all-star caliber level of OPS over recent days. Over the last 14 days, he is hitting 333 with 5 of his 8 RBI home runs, 10 of his 30 RBIs, and 9 of his 27 runs scored. Pittsburgh has him hitting 3rd in that lineup. Now, he could be one of those veterans that Pittsburgh moves at the trade deadline, goes to a contender, DHs, whatever it may be. Right now, it's a hot bat. Be mindful of that. I don't love it, but he's 5th. If you're just looking for power, if you're looking at your categories, I need home runs, Rowdy Tellez has a track record and the ability to provide them. Now, on to the pitching side of things. 3 starting pitchers I wanted everybody to be mindful of. Up first, Yariel Rodriguez of the Toronto Blue Jays. He's sitting at 12% rostered, makes him 88% available. Over the last 2 weeks, he's had 2 starts, 12 strikeouts, and 12 2/3 of those starts. It's about 8.5 Ks per 9. In those 2 starts, his ERA is 0.71, and his WHIP is 0.55. He's got a win in those 2 starts. On the season now, Yariel Rodriguez has 29 strikeouts in 30 1/3 innings, with an ERA of about 3.5 and a WHIP of about 1.3. His batting average against on the season, this is the number that caught my eye, is a very low, very more than acceptable, 216. Now, he's got to start Friday, July 12th, before waivers run over the weekend, against the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you're in a daily setting, maybe you picked them up and used them in that format. When you set your fab, if he pitches well in that start against Arizona, you may have to up your fab bid a little bit. If he gets hit a little bit, maybe you can lower it. No new starts, I can't predict what their next scheduled start is like I have in the past, because all teams will reset their starting rotation after the All-Star break. Second pitcher I wanted to mention, somebody I've mentioned in the past, Chicago White Sox youngster Drew Thorpe. I've talked about his prospect pedigree, one of the top prospects in that White Sox organization. In a dynasty league, I just gave up Seth Lugo to get Drew Thorpe. I'm thrilled with that. Okay, it's 27% rostered, available in 73% of formats. His last 3 starts, again, the strikeouts are still lagging. Only 10 Ks in his last 18 1/3 innings over the last 14 days. However, the ERA in those 3 starts sits at 2.45, and the WHIP sits at 0.65. It's an outstanding WHIP. Picked up 2 wins. Picking up wins for the White Sox, not an easy task. He's got 3 wins on the season with an ERA of 3.58 and a WHIP of 1.04 in 32 2/3 innings. Batting average against, outstanding for Drew Thorpe. It's a minuscule 165. And I do expect Thorpe, in his minor league pedigree, with his stuff, to pick up that strikeout rate potentially as the season goes along. My final ad, my deep dive, he's available in 94% of Yahoo leagues, only 6% rostered. Yelber Diaz, rookie from the Arizona Diamondbacks. In his first start at the major league level, July 8th against the Atlanta Braves, he went 6 innings, had 5 strikeouts, gave up 1 run, a 1.50 ERA in those 6 innings, whip of 0.83, pitched outstanding. When you have that type of success against the Atlanta Braves, people take notice. His next start, he's got another start before the All-Star break. It's going to be Saturday the 13th against the Toronto Blue Jays, a Blue Jay team that's in last place, and we'll be looking to sell off upcoming free agents as the trade deadline gets closer. In 22 AAA innings this year, Yelber Diaz had 28 strikeouts, 11.45 Ks per 9 innings, with an ERA of 3.27 and a whip of 1.23. Diaz pitches well for Arizona. He'll stay in that rotation potentially going forward. I'm very curious to see how he does Saturday the 13th against Toronto. Again, a strong start. You may have to bid up a little bit more for him than you already are planning on doing. All right, everybody. So to recap, my top hitter ads for Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season. Number 1, Heston Kjerstad, Baltimore Orioles. Number 2, Michael Busch, corner infielder, Chicago Cubs. Number 3, Colt Keith, middle infield, Detroit Tigers. Number 4, Zach Galoff, middle infielder, Oakland Athletics. And number 5, corner infielder, Rowdy Tellez of the Pittsburgh Pirates. On the pitching side of things, to add for my favorite pitchers to add for Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season. Number 1, Yariel Rodriguez, Toronto Blue Jays. Number 2, Drew Thorpe of the Chicago White Sox. And number 3, Yelber Diaz of the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, everybody, head over to rotoballer.com right now. Sign up for any of our premium passes, whether it's the second half of baseball, your upcoming fantasy football drafts, NASCAR, PGA, sports betting, DFS, or season-long formats, whatever you're looking for. Rotoballer.com has it covered. Sign up for that premium pass. Use the promo code ACES. Let them know I sent you. Make sure you like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. And download the RotoBaller app. It's free, so take advantage of all the great content there as well. As always, give me a follow on Twitter at @Aniano Fantasy. And we will see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.